Okay, so how many of you have checked the economic survey? No. Okay. Purna, Rahul ne previous questions. Okay, so this is the chapter in the economic survey which is related to agriculture. Okay, and few things. I think this area is important this time also, because during COVID also this was the only sector which was growing well. Okay, if you see 3.6%, okay, 3.6% in 2021. Okay, so few things here if you observe. Okay, so the sector which is the largest employer of workforce, okay, accounted for 18.8% of the GVA. So it contributed to 18.8, okay, and registered a growth of 3.6 in 2020-21. So growth was okay, and it acted like a silver lining. That is observation. And one more important observation from the economic survey is the growth of allied sectors was higher than the crop. Okay, the growth of allied sectors. Growth of allied sectors means livestock, dairying, fisheries have been the major drivers of the overall growth. Rather than the crop, it is the allied sectors like livestock, dairying and fisheries. So that is one more important observation from the survey. Okay, so then if you see here, okay, the livestock has grown at a rate of 8.15 in the last 5 years. Livestock sector, okay, and there was Ashok Dalwai committee which was appointed 2018, which was mainly focusing on doubling farmers' income. Doubling farmers' income. And this Ashok Dalwai committee's main recommendation also, one of the important recommendations which they made is that you have to focus on allied activities. Allied activities if you really want to double farmers' income. So there was a target which was fixed saying that by 2022, doubling of farmers' income will be done. But of course, there are certain problems here, but that is one. Okay, so then you have special focus on food processing industry. So food processing is one such industry which is called as the sunrise sector, because it contributes not only to the growth but also employment. Okay, so this is a significant employer of surplus workforce. So food processing is a significant for something like, it is called as the sunrise sector because it contributes to growth, along with that employment both. Okay, so here this is, now if we see growth of agriculture and allied sectors, observe the graph here. Okay, so if you observe the graph, if is talking about last 5 years, okay, so agriculture and allied services, there is no continuous increase nor continuous decrease. There is no continuous increase nor continuous decrease. This is the growth. No continuous increase nor continuous decrease. Okay, that is one observation. Okay. Now, if you see, when we talk about growth also, crops was negative. Growth, this is not contribution to GVA. This is not contribution to GVA. This is growth. I am talking about growth. Don't get confused. I am not talking about contribution to GDP. I am only talking about growth. Okay. So, in growth, if you see GVA for crops was around minus 1.6, 18-19. So, this is growth. Basically, growth was happening in livestock or allied activities. This is the indicator basically. Okay. So, here, so if you see around agriculture was around 18%. So contribution agriculture to GDP. Okay, so GVA basically if you see, okay, overall last 5 years statistics, last 10 years also if you see, so around 18% agriculture contribution. Of course, during COVID it was a little higher, etc. Okay. Now this committee which I have mentioned, Committee on Doubling Farmers' Income, considers this allied activities as the main focus for doubling farmers' income. Ashok Dalwai Committee on doubling farmers' income. Okay. Now percentage share of GVA of agriculture and allied sectors to the total GVA. Okay. So contribution of agriculture to GDP or contribution of agriculture to the total national income. Okay. So if you see, there is no specific trend here also. That is what you should observe. There is no specific trend since last 5 years, 2018-19. If you observe, there was increase. Okay, 2021 agriculture contribution to GDP. This was during the COVID basically. Okay, so 20.2. Okay, but again now you can see 21-22. Okay, last 10 years also contribution of agriculture, there is no trend. No continuously increasing nor continuously decreasing. This is something which you have to remember. No continuous increase nor continuous decrease. Okay. So this is percentage share of GVA when we see crop and allied activities. Okay, in the total agriculture, and you have livestock, forestry, etc. All that. Okay, so if you make an observation here 1920 contribution, if you see 1819, 1920. Okay, so this is 10.7, and then you have livestock 5.2. Mouse, where is it? Waiting. Okay, so if you see 10.7 contribution, okay, and livestock 5.2, and then you have fisheries and aquaculture 1.2. Okay, so that is one observation here. So here if you see, this is the contribution to total GVA. Contribution to total GVA. That is different from growth. That is different from growth. This is contribution to total GVA. For total agriculture GVA, which we are talking about around 18% or 20.2%. Okay. So this is the bifurcation. Okay. Now, economic survey talks about investment in agriculture. So, investment we have discussed, investment is represented in the form of gross capital formation. Gross capital formation. Okay. So, what he says is investment in agriculture is almost standard as far as government is concerned. That is public investment. But when it comes to private investment, the fluctuation which you see has been mainly because of the private investment. So, public investment was around 2 to 3% over the years. Public investment, okay, public government's investment into contribution of GCF in agriculture basically. Okay. So, here that is basically around 2 to 3%. But private sector contribution to investment in agriculture is fluctuating. This is what economic survey says. Okay. So, that graph is here. Okay. So, this is basically public government around 2 to 3, always almost on a standard level. Okay. But if you see private sector, okay, there is fluctuation. So, we are saying private sector investment in agriculture is almost a linear fashion or Okay, they're saying continuously increasing, decreasing. Okay, so all that doesn't work out. It's always fluctuating. Okay, government investment into agriculture, government's contribution to GCF of agriculture, gross capital formation, is around 2 to 3%. So that is what something which you should observe here. Is this clear? Okay. Now, okay. So when we talk about edible oils, okay, so here economic survey is talking about edible oils here. Okay, so a few important things which you will remember here. Okay, so oil seed production in India has steadily increased. So even today we import oil, edible oil, especially palm oil. Okay, so around 95% palm oil we import. Okay. Now oil seed production in India has steadily increased since last 5 years. Yes. Okay, I'll show you the graph. Oil seed production has steadily increased since last 5 years. Yes. Okay. Then if you observe, the oil seed production has grown almost by 43%. The oilseed production has however lagged behind its consumption. That is why, so but consumption is high, therefore you are importing. Okay. So, but oil seed production has been steadily increasing since last 5 years. Okay. And India is world's second largest consumer and number one importer of vegetable oil. It's a factual statement. Okay. So, India is the largest importer of edible oil. Yes, the statement is right. Okay. And India is world's second largest consumer. Okay. So, that is one factual thing. So, if you see, this is the trend in production of oil seeds. So, if he is asking last 10 years, then no continuous increase. No continuous increase. Over a decade, oil seeds production is continuously increasing. Statement wrong. But last 5 years, oil seed production is increasing. Yes. See here. Is this clear? Clear? Okay. Now, this is production and import, if you see. Okay. Now, what is observation? Oil import has been continuously increasing since last 5 years. Oil import, that statement is wrong. Okay. So, oil import, if you see, 13.4 million tons. Okay. 1920. Okay. So, that means oil import has reduced. Oil production last 5 years has continuously increased production. Okay. But oil import, if you see, okay, though we import, now you can see a drop in 1920 here. Okay. So, oil import since last 5 years is continuously increasing, means that is wrong. Okay. So, this is see 13.4 million tons. Okay. So, there are certain reasons. Okay. So, he talks about Hawaii oil seeds. Okay. Last year, there was a question, do we follow open-ended procurement? I don't exactly, we'll bring the question papers anyhow. So, do we follow there's this MSP, related to MSP, there was a question in 2020. The question was something like, I think open-ended procurement is followed for all the 22 items for cereals. Okay, I'm simplified it in fact. Cereals, okay, oil seeds, okay, all that. Okay, so is open-ended procurement followed? So, you know what is open-ended procurement? Open-ended procurement means FCI is procuring as much as possible. Okay. So when we talk about FCI reforms, there was this committee called Shanta Kumar committee which came up with recommendations. Okay, this Shanta Kumar committee was talking about FCI reforms. Okay, FCI reforms. So if I have to talk about a basic structure, we talked about it earlier also. So you should be knowing this is, if this is the farmer, okay, you have the FCI. Okay. Now the cost paid by FCI to the farmer, it was earlier called as the procurement price. Okay. So now we are calling it as only MSP. Actually, MSP is a subset of a procurement price. Okay. And then from FCI, it goes to the State Civil Supplies Department, which we were talking about. Okay. State Civil Supplies Department, the price at which the center is selling food grains to the state is called as the central issue price. Okay. So, and from there it goes to the ration shops, or we call it as the fair price shops. Okay. Ration shop or fair price shops. And from here, as part of TPDS program, Targeted Public Distribution System 1997, okay, the food grains are distributed to BPL separately and APL separately. Generally for a BPL, you are distributing it at half the economic cost of FCI. Okay, so economic cost is both the procurement cost as well as the distribution cost incurred by FCI. So this was also asked in UPSC. So what is the economic cost of FCI? Economic cost incurred by FCI is nothing but the procurement cost as well as the distribution cost. You're procuring and you're distributing. So if you observe this, in this, except the fair price shop, all other entities are quite government related entities. So these are, if fair price shops or the ration shops are the private entities, but they have to sell only those items which the government asks them to sell. Okay, so that is about the ration shop concept and how the PDS system evolved and all. I'm not discussing that, but basically PDS system, this is all called as the public distribution system. Okay, so here the FCI incurs a cost which is called as the economic cost. Okay, so which is both, it includes both the procurement as well as the distribution cost, including taxes, etc., administrative costs, all that. So this difference of central issue price minus the economic cost incurred by FCI. Okay, so all these years, this central issue price was not increased. Okay, much. Okay, much. Okay, but economic cost of FCI was increasing because of increase in MSP, increase in procurement costs basically, okay, increase in distribution, storage and all. So this gap was increasing. This gap is something which is funded by the government, and that is what we call it as a food subsidy. So FCI is making loss, okay, because economic costs are increasing. But if the central issue prices are not increasing in line with the economic cost, that means FCI is going to make loss. This gap or loss is funded by the government in the form of food subsidy. So food subsidies are increasing, were increasing because the central issue prices were not being changed continuously, okay, but the economic cost incurred by FCI, okay, because of MSPs and all. Now, of course, I'll discuss the formula of MSP, how it is calculated later. But the main problem is we were following an open-ended procurement. One of the important problem or a challenge was following open-ended procurement by FCI. Open-ended procurement means you're not keeping an upper limit. How much ever states are selling, you're taking it. How much ever farmers are giving, you're taking it without focusing on an upper limit. So this open-ended procurement was mainly for rice and wheat, not for other sectors, other entities like oil seeds, etc. MSP is given, but open-ended procurement was not followed for oil seeds, etc. It was mainly for rice and wheat. Okay, so but that also should not be followed, but for food security issues from 1965 onwards. after the formation of FCI. FCI came into existence in 1965. Okay, this was called as the institutionalization of the public distribution system. Okay, so from that time onwards, we wanted to take care of droughts. So we started open-ended procurement, procuring as much as possible for rice and wheat. So this is what we were doing, open-ended procurement. But that's not for oil seeds and other entities. Okay, and Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices. Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices, CACP. Okay. CACP recommends MSP. CACP recommends MSP for 22 odd crops and FRP. FRP is fair remunerative price. This is FRP is for what? Sugar. FRP is for sugar. Okay. Recommendation is done by CACP, Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices, but questions. Okay. But approvals are given by CCA, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Recommendations done by Commission for Agricultural Costs and Prices. Okay, so this CACP term has come up in 1985. Earlier 1966. Okay, so it was, the word used was different. But Commission for Agriculture Costs and Prices, okay, the word has come up in 1985. Which one? This is the entity which recommends MSP, which also recommends FRP for sugar. Okay, but the approval or acceptance is done by Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Okay, these basics you should know, few things you should know. Okay, so and formula for calculation of MSP. So government is using a formula for calculation of MSP. So which is basically 1.5 of A2 plus FL. Okay, so I'll come to this a little later. So A2 is basically actual costs incurred by the farmer. Actual costs incurred by the farmer. Okay, so A2 you call it as. Okay, so 1.5 times. First they have done it for kharif crops. Okay, so then FL is imputed costs of family labor. Imputed cost of family labor. Okay, so imputed cost of family labor. Okay, imputed means if your family wouldn't have worked, you would have paid some money. That is calculated. That is called imputed cost. Okay, so if your family is not working in the farm, if somebody else has been recruited, okay, so there will be a cost that is incurred. So actual cost incurred by the farmers with respect to fertilizer, seed, machinery, all that. That is what is A2. Okay, and farmers were not happy with this formula. Though 1.5 times of A2 plus FL, you are fixing it as the minimum support price. Okay, so farmers were not happy. Okay, so farmers wanted comprehensive costs. Okay, C2 you call it as. So farmers mainly wanted comprehensive costs rather than actual costs. Okay, so actual cost is whatever the cost which is incurred by the farmer while buying seeds or fertilizers, whatever it is. Comprehensive cost or C2, the farmers wanted this. Okay, or yeah, so farmers basically were talking about what is C2. C2 is called, what C2 considers is, C2 takes into consideration imputed costs. Imputed costs. In economics, for calculating subsidy, we do not use imputed costs. So that means if the farmer is working in his own land, okay, so if this wouldn't have been his own land, then he would have paid some rent. If farmer is putting in new machinery, okay, if it wouldn't have been his own machinery, let's say he's using his own machinery, or he can bring machinery on rent, whatever it is. So if it wouldn't have been his own machinery, there would have been a cost that is incurred by the farmer. So these imputed costs also will be taken into consideration when you talk about comprehensive costs. Actual cost means actually what the farmer has incurred for buying seeds or buying machinery. So that is called as actual costs. So farmers were asking for comprehensive costs for calculation of MSP, and government was taking in actual costs, or 1.5 into A2 plus FL especially, the formula that is used by the government. Okay, so these things you should know. Okay, so give me a second, let me put the question paper, 1 minute. See, for prelims and mains, this is the most important chapter in the whole economy, or you call it part of geography, some areas of economy. Okay, so this was 2020 question which I was talking about. So the procurement is not unlimited. Unlimited means open-ended. Okay, Shanta Kumar committee came up with recommendations. Shanta Kumar, IAS officer, okay, with respect to reforms of FCI. And one of the important recommendation he made was stop open-ended procurement. Why stop open-ended procurement? Because you do not have the storage facility. So therefore, most of the food grains were rotting in the open. So it leading to food wastage. Okay, he said instead of using gunny bags and all, use containers with respect to storage. In and out computerization of FCI or the PDS system. All these recommendations he gave, Shanta Kumar committee in 2015. Okay, and he also suggested something like, there was this National Food Security Act. This National Food Security Act need not cover 67% of the population. It is enough that you cover 40% of the population. Okay, so like that he came up with recommendations. He said use silos for storage. These are rectangular kind of structures where the storage efficiency is going to be higher. Okay, so he came up with recommendations in procurement, number one. He came up with recommendations in storage. Then he came up with recommendations in distribution and transportation. All the areas he came up with recommendations, FCI reform. So some of the important reforms is, he said stop open-ended procurement. Stop open-ended. That means don't procure as much they sell you. How much ever they are giving FCI, you are accepting, you don't have the storage facility. Maybe for vote bank politics, etc. you are accepting, but you are wasting a lot of the food grain. So this open-ended procurement was mainly for rice and wheat. Rice and wheat. Okay, now here the question says, in case of all cereals, pulses, oil, procurement at MSP is unlimited? No. It is only for rice and wheat. That also suggestions were given to slowly stop open-ended procurement. In case of cereals, pulses, MSP is fixed in any state at a level to which the market price will never rise. Wrong. Market price can change based on demand and supply. Okay. So nobody can fix MSPs, okay, in such a way that market price will not cross. Yes or no? Market price changes in the market. I will get this. Okay. So you got my point, right? Okay. It's clear. So this was the question that they asked. Okay, so this was one more question about public investment. I was showing you the graph of public investment in agriculture. So GCF, okay. So center was like 2 to 3%, isn't it? Okay, and center is in the sense and public investment, government. Okay, so private investment was fluctuating. This is what we have seen in the graph. Okay, Now here the question was, which of the following can be considered as public investment? So UPSC will not ask numbers, he may ask at times, but so he is asked here 19, what is considered as public investment in agriculture? Eliminate. What should be the answer? Electricity is not free electricity supply. Free electricity supply is kind of, what is it? What do you say? It is something like you can treat it as maybe subsidy or a free transfer. How can that be seen as a public investment? Okay, so if you eliminate 3 also straight away, okay, so you should be getting A. Okay, so this is okay. So economic cost of FCI is MSP and bonus if any paid to farmers plus. So you are asking the economic cost of FCI. It includes MSP, okay, plus procurement as well as distribution cost. So many think FCI is all mains only, no, so no, see. Okay, and the difference between economic cost and the central issue price, that is what is the food subsidy. Okay, so here if you see, this was the question in 2018. Distribution is not just go down. Look at this, transportation, all that. Okay. Approved by. So approved by is not B. Okay. Recommended by B. Are you able to get this? No confusion. Okay. So I'll come to this. Okay. So till here, I hope it is clear. So now see here. How did government increase the production? So first of all, government has centrally sponsored scheme of National Food Security Mission. Okay. And in that you have included NFSM oil seeds from 2018 in all districts. Okay, so that is one thing. So as part of that, government has set up 36 oil seed hubs. Okay, so and increasing the availability of high yield where quality seed, etc. Production, because they are importing every time. Okay, and government also through MSP regime has been providing price signal for crop diversification towards production of oil seeds. That means MSP is announced for oil seeds also, slowly you started increasing it, because one of the negative of MSP is cereal centric production. Negative, more rice, more wheat. This is the negative. Crop diversification is important. So crop diversification happened in terms of government's focus with respect to this scheme. That is what you should observe. Okay, and then here if you see crude palm oil. Now here crude palm oil, vegetable oil, we are the largest importer. Okay. Now crude palm oil, if you see here, oil palm, so here, even today around 98% of crude palm oil is being imported. Now this is a fact, this is which you will remember. So more than 90%, 98% of crude palm oil is being imported. So National Mission on Edible Oil, Oil Palm. Okay, so this is the mission. Okay, this is the major initiative. So this initiative mainly focuses on covering 6.5 lakh hectares of oil palm till 2025-26. Okay, then it will cover 10 lakh hectares ultimately. This is the target according to this scheme. So National Mission on Edible Oil, Oil Palm. Okay, so mainly focuses on covering an additional area of 6.5 lakh hectares by 2025-26. Okay, so here if you observe, okay, so here if you observe, now production wise is increased. Last few years the production has increased. Okay, 2.8 lakh ton. Okay, so production and import of palm oil. So though, and if you observe import of palm oil, okay, so there is a decrease you can observe here. This is basically in lakh tons. Okay, so this is import, this is production. So if you talk about last 5 years, import of palm oil, okay, so you can see a decline. Okay, so but when it comes to production, you can see that the production has slightly increased. Last 5 year statistics. Last 10 years, no trend. 10 years, no trend. Even today, 98% of palm oil we are importing. So therefore, government has come up with this scheme which we are talking about. Okay. So talking about sugar sector. So I've talked about FRP. So FRP is given by government to the sugar mill owners. MSP is given by government or FCI to farmers. Fair remunerative prices are given by the government to the cultivators. Sorry, yeah, mistake. FRP is given by fair remunerative price for sugar is given by government to the to the sugar mill owners. No, sir. So with MSP is given by FCI, that is government to farmers. Okay. FRP is given by, no confusion here, sugar mill owners to the cultivators. Not government here, sugar mill owners to the cultivators. This is what we discussed earlier also. Okay, so FRP is given. That means importance is about sugar mill owners. So that means sugar mill owners, there was sugar production increasing, etc. There were problems during WTO. So this is FRP. Are you able to get this? Now sugar production, if you see sugar production, so except for 2016-17, our production is more than consumption. Except for 2016. So that means our production is more than consumption. Okay. Now here if you see, interest of the farmers is protected by the fair remunerative price. Okay. Now which has doubled in a span of last 10 years. Important fact here that the FRP has doubled in the last 10 years. So FRP has doubled in the last 10 years. Okay. Now our production, you see, this is the reason why Modi ji gave export subsidy for sugar. Why? Because consumption is less, production is increasing. Okay, huge gap here if you see, so therefore, why sugar prices were going down? So sugar mill owners were making losses, and therefore FRP will not be paid by the mill owners to the. So this is something like, okay. So here the government has taken various steps such as incentivizing sugar mills to divert excess sugar to ethanol production. Number one, providing financial assistance for transport to sugar mills to facilitate export of sugar. So this is the subsidy Modi ji was talking about. We gave only export subsidy which we can give till 2022. Transportation no. So we talked about transportation, WTO. So transportation, we need not reduce transportation subsidy by 2019. Okay, agreement on agriculture. Okay, ethanol production. Okay, so here if you observe, trend in the fair remunerative price. Okay, last 10 years, it has almost like doubled. That is what he is talking about. So 145 rupees per quintal to 290. Graph has been continuously increasing. Yes. FRP offered. Okay, so it is continuously increasing. Yes. Okay, so here CACP fixes MSP, minimum support price, of course, MSP. Okay. Okay, now here CACP considers different factors like cost of production, overall demand, domestic and international prices, intercrop price parity, terms of trade between agriculture and non-agricultural sector. All these factors will be considered. Okay, so based on which CACP recommends MSP. These are the factors which are taken into consideration. Okay, it takes both supply side factors and demand side factors. So both the factors will be taken into consideration. Okay. Okay, MSP will be 1.5 times the cost of production, 1.5 times A2 plus FL. Okay, so that is what you will remember. Okay, so but of course C2 also we talked about. Okay, so that. Highest increase in MSP has been recommended for lentil, masoor and rapeseed, mustard. Okay, I don't think this fact will be asked, but of course some basic you should know. Okay, so till here I think it is clear. Okay, so coming to crop diversification, etc. So basics you should be knowing. Okay, so we have this categorization. Okay, so if you talk about crops being diversified, here cropping patterns based on end use, that is food crops or cash crops, etc. Then based on seasons. So most of you should be knowing. Okay, so the different crops grown in an area at a particular point of type is called cropping pattern. So basic definitions you should be knowing. Any of this PPT will be uploaded. Okay, so and cropping pattern depends on multiple factors: soil, support price, value, demand, labor availability, climate, historical setting, etc. Whatever it is. For example, first green revolution benefits were taken Punjab, Haryana. That graph also is given here. And these are the areas where groundwater depletion is maximum. So government has to work out on groundwater. Okay, so where groundwater issues are there, it was clearly identified. And you will find that these issues are maximum in those states which have benefited from the first green revolution. So slowly you should shift from certain crops like rice, especially paddy, etc., sugar cane, which are water intensive. Water intensive, that is what the budget or even the survey talks about. Water intensive crops, you have to start moving away slowly. Okay, so here there are different types of cropping pattern which you would have read earlier also. Okay, so something like crop rotation. So what is crop rotation? Crops are changed from year to year. Okay. So what is mixed farming? Mixed farming is basically crops as well as livestock together. UPSC already asked. Okay, what is mixed farming? Ivanni basics amakan teliyali. Okay, so mixed farming, UPSC asked already. Okay, so particular farm which includes crop, raising livestock, poultry, fisheries, beekeeping, everything. Okay, sweet revolution. What is sweet revolution? Honey bee. Survey talks about it. Now, sweet revolution. Okay, so it is basically importance of beekeeping as part of integrated farming system in the country. Government approved the allocation of 500 crore for national beekeeping and honey mission for 3 years. Okay, so that fact he may not ask, but you should know that sweet revolution means related to honey. Okay, so that much you should know. Okay, so as part of Atmanirbhar Bharat, okay, so you can observe here, okay, so implemented through National Bee Board, and this sweet revolution is implemented through National Bee Board. India's export of honey has increased by 110% between 2013-14 to 19-20. So I'll be mainly focusing on prelims only. Okay, so that is about honey. Okay, the other things which you should know. Okay, so few things which you should know. Okay, so evergreen revolution, pink revolution, red, silver, green, golden. Okay, so here golden, it was included, fruits. This is the recent one, sweet. Okay, so recent they have categorized honey. Okay, so here, brown revolution, leather, blue revolution, fish, black, petroleum. Okay, so we never know if at all is asking some fact and it may help you in elimination or something. Okay. Okay, so basics you should, I think in geography 6th standard you have what is Rabi, what is Kharif. Okay, so and you should know these crops also. Okay, so Rabi October to December sown, harvest April to June. Okay, so here wheat, barley, peas, gram, mustard. Okay, and Kharif June to July, harvester September, October. Okay. So there some basics at times he may ask. He may ask what is, he has no mixed farming. Many made mistake. Okay, so that don't make mistakes, basics. Okay. So one is, there is a rapid revision PPT, there is an agriculture PDF separate, and there is economic survey, 3 are there. Okay, so if you see, this is wetland farming. Soils flooded or irrigated through lake, pond or canal, and land is always in submerged condition. Okay, rain-fed farming, India's case, crop production in areas where rainfall is more than 750. Okay, so then dry land farming, etc. Basic you should know what are the different farming systems, okay, and what are the different cropping patterns. Okay, so these things you should know. Cropping seasons ఇది తెలియాలమ్మా. అడగరు అని ఏం లేదు, బేసిక్కే కదా, అడగరు అనుకోవద్దు, అడగచ్చు. You make a mistake. The following are Rabi crops, and you may give a Kharif, and you should be know. You should know to eliminate. This is rice growing states of India. Okay, వద్దాంలే rice ki. Now see crop diversification. Okay, so this is basically for sustainable agriculture. Okay, and doubling farmers income committee, basically it has also suggested shifting some area from cereals to high value produce, etc. Okay, so here existing pattern, cropping pattern, main problem is you have no crop diversification much. Mostly you are focusing on cultivation of sugarcane, paddy, wheat. So this has created problems with respect to depletion of fresh groundwater. This map shows water stress basically, and this water stress can be seen in those states where you have rice, mainly rice, paddy, sugarcane. Okay, so that is extremely high stress is this one, above 100%, extremely high, complete red. Okay, so this region you can see clearly, these regions, sugarcane, okay, etc., extremely high stress. ఈ బోర్డు మీద అన్ని రెడ్గానే కనిపిస్తున్నాయి. ఓకే, సో సరే ఏం కాదులే, ఇది ఈ ఏరియా అన్నమాట. సో దిస్ రెడ్ హియర్ this is like mixed up on the board. Okay, so there's clear. Okay, so what we have to remember is that is the reason crop diversification program is implemented in, especially as part of Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana since 2014 in these states, especially Punjab, Haryana and UP, Western UP, that is sugarcane, Punjab, Haryana and Western UP, as a sub scheme under Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana. So why are we doing it? This is basically focusing on crop diversification. Okay. Okay, agriculture credit, if you see in 2021, so it is around like 15 lakh crore against the target, more than the target basically, and that is what it says. So as part of Atmanirbhar Bharat, now government announced 2 lakh crore concessional credit boost to 2.5 crore farmers through Kisan credit card. So now Kisan credit card, is it given to fishing and all? Yes, it has been extended to fishing, etc., aquaculture. Okay, so that is also something which you will remember. Okay. Okay. Irrigation. Okay, so here there are benefits of micro irrigation. Okay, so you would have read in geography to some extent. So you have irrigation methods, subsurface, sprinkler, drip. Okay, so micro irrigation is very significant, very important now, and that is the reason it is stated in the economic survey also. Okay, so there are certain benefits of micro irrigation, especially less energy cost, higher profits, water saving, water use efficiency, all this. Okay, so of course benefits he may not ask. Okay, but you should be knowing few things. Okay, so India's case. Okay, so there is this Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sichai Yojana. Okay, so that is basically talks about per drop more crop. Okay, per drop more crop, or it talks about har khet ko pani. Okay, and in that watershed development. Okay, so all these are the focus areas. Okay, and this in Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sichai Yojana, you have these earlier schemes that have been included, like our accredited irrigation benefit program. Okay, so all this, and this is basically focusing on micro irrigation. Micro irrigation, that is why you find per drop more crop. Okay, so that is installation of micro irrigation systems, especially drip and sprinkler in fields. Okay. Okay, so here, so now government is talking about, this is a survey, increased coverage under micro irrigation, most effective mode of water conservation. Okay, so government now here resources, micro irrigation fund has been created with a corpus of 5,000 crores, which is created with NABARD. Okay, so this is one fact. Okay, so micro irrigation fund is created with a corpus of 5,000 crores, and it is maintained under NABARD during 2018-19. Okay. So already some loans up to 3,000 or almost like 4,000 crores have been approved. So this is basically approximately 12 lakh micro irrigation area. So government is promoting drip and sprinkler systems in the country for enhancing water efficiency at the farm level under the per drop crop per drop more crop component of Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sijai Yojana from 2015-16. So this is what I was showing in the PDF also. Okay, so government is implementing per drop more crop component of Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sijai Yojana since 2016-16 for enhancing water use efficiency. Okay, and it has created a micro irrigation fund which is maintained under NABARD. From this fund, loans have been given. Economic survey says around 3,900 crore worth loans have been disbursed already. Okay, covering 12 lakh hectares of micro irrigation area. So this is what the survey says. So fertigation is basically a method of fertilizer application in which fertilizer is incorporated within the irrigation water by the drip system. So in this drip system itself, the fertilizer is included. Okay. So therefore efficiency increases because the availability of nutrients will be very high. So fertilizer use efficiency has increased by almost like 80 to 90%. Okay. It's a huge topic, no? So see the seventh question. Okay, earlier it is basically we have to procurement price. Minimum support price is only the price offered, but now they are not using this word procurement. Otherwise, it is procurement price, the price at which FCI is procuring grains. That is what is procurement price. Okay, I think this question was asked around 2004-5. I don't know exactly. So, what minimum support price now from your terminology has changed. You're not using the word procurement price. You're straight away saying MSP. But otherwise, to be very specific, it is procurement price. Okay, this is an old question. Seed village concept. Okay, so he asked. It's an old question. So, involving the farmers for training in quality seed production and thereby to make available quality seeds to others at an appropriate time and affordable cost. This is what is the seed village concept. Okay, so this was one question. Of course, now he may not ask this. Let's see. Let's move forward. Okay, so another one is APMC. I think you should be knowing about APMC. So earlier, APMC or Agricultural Produce Marketing Committees. Okay, then if I have to trace agriculture very specifically, so initially there were problems with respect to certain systems like the Zamindari, Mahalwari, Raitwari. These are the British tenure systems. Okay, so because of these systems, Zamindari system, I think you know. Okay, the Zamindar was an intermediary between the British government and the peasant. Okay, and Zamindari system did not bring benefit neither to the British government also, nor to the peasant. This is what our modern history talks about. Okay, if you are reading modern history, it clearly mentions. Okay, then Raitwari system is directly the peasant pays to the British government. But the problem here also is that the rates are very high. In some places, actually, the biggest issue was something like whatever 50%, even 70% of whatever was produced was taken away. Okay, so these were several issues. Mahalwari system means you have the village head. Okay, and he is going to collect on behalf and give it to the British government. Now, because of these systems, almost like 53 to 55% of the land was with the hand of Zamindars, in the land of Zamindars by the time of 1953. Okay, so to handle this, we wanted to come up with something like implementing what? Land reforms. In mains, you would have read, it's a separate chapter. Okay, so land reforms basically focuses on something like Zamindari abolition. Zamindari abolition. Okay, it also focuses on tenancy reforms. Tenants are the farmers. There are different types of tenants, etc. You have occupational tenant, etc. But tenants are those who work on the farm for meager wages. Okay, and recent government programs also. Okay, or Telangana government's Raitu Bandhu program also does not include tenant farmers. Okay, then you have agriculture related reforms. Okay, so tenancy reforms, modernizing land records. Okay, so land records, updation, etc. Though your land reforms, after land reforms, it took a lot of years to pass land reforms. Then 1972 till 1972, Land Ceiling Act was also not efficiently implemented. So there are Chief Minister's Conference of Land Ceiling, etc. Land ceiling is the upper limit that is fixed. Okay, beyond which you can't hold, it is different for different states. Okay, so then they came up with a specific Land Ceiling Act. Okay, after 1972, and that was implemented. Okay, so land reforms was only a partial success, not fully successful. Multiple reasons were there for that. You would have read something like the legal procedures itself. That means the law itself allowed for some loopholes like the concepts of personal cultivation. Okay, so if the landlord wants to produce for himself, okay, he can pull the tenants, farmers out. This is called as personal cultivation. So these loopholes were not handled. Okay, this is a legal loophole. This was used well. So this personal cultivation was taken up as personal supervision and used to supervise, kick the tenant farmers out. Like that, there were many problems. Okay, then bureaucracy, apathy of bureaucracy not doing well. Okay, political and bureaucracy. Okay, so that was lack of proper implementation of land ceiling. acts, etc. Only after 1972 you started bringing in, okay, so appropriate implementation, etc. Improper updation of land records. Land records, why? Because suppose you are giving rights to tenants. You are giving rights to tenants, but it should be updated in the land records. Only if it is updated in the land record, your name is there in the land record as a tenant, then only you will benefit. Whatever benefits the tenant has to be given will be given to you. But if there is no updation of land records, then that is a big problem. So therefore, tenant farmers did not benefit. Okay. Then voluntary surrender was there. Voluntarily they were surrendering. Why? Because landlords are powerful people. They have connections with the political class, etc. So therefore, voluntarily they started surrendering, etc. Okay. All this happened only after 1980s. Basically, you see certain reforms that have been brought in, which are really successful with respect to land reform. So in UPSC mains and all, this becomes important. So now here for prelims, you are not going to get into details. Okay, so initially to protect the farmers so to handle the British tenure system, etc., the farmers' blood was squeezed, and farmers were, from the farmer, money is taken generally in the form of cash, and farmer is not in a position to pay. So he started depending on the parasitic class called money lenders. So this is how this money lender entered into the system. Okay, and therefore whatever minimum produce the farmer used to take, the money lender used to grab it off, okay, before the output moves out. Okay, so now therefore the government said we'll try to protect the farmers. Now we came up with government mandis, APMC mandis. So APMC, agricultural produce marketing committees. The purpose, first of all, you should know that agriculture is a state subject. So each state has different rules and regulations. Okay, so though how much ever reforms you brought in with agriculture, nothing was implemented effectively because state government's approval is needed, because agriculture is a state subject. So this all you should be knowing. So APMC mandis are these government mandis, okay, where the farmer will not directly sell the produce to the end consumer. You have to go to the mandi, and in the APMC mandi there will be auction that is done in the mandis. So there are traders and middlemen. Okay, so farmer takes the produce and goes to the mandi, and through the agriculture mandi the farmer is selling the produce to the end consumer. This is what was the logic. So you came with APMCs as a mechanism for protecting farmer, but unlike protecting, it became something like negative for the farmer. Why? Because in the APMC mandi the farmer was continuously exploited. For example, once he enters, there is something called as mandi fees, which is collected from the farmer at multiple levels. There is the trader and the middleman. There is nexus between the trader and the middleman, and wherever the farmer goes, he will receive the same price, and that price will not reflect the original price. Okay, the farmer is exploited, so farmer cannot take away the produce and go back. And for whatever meager prices he used to get, he used to sell and walk off. So like that, the farmer was exploited in the agricultural APMC mandis. Okay, so APMC mandis, actually there will be something like 17 to 18 members. Okay, and elections should be held regularly every 6 months. But since elections were not held regularly, okay, what government does is government tries to appoint somebody, and most of the appointees are basically bureaucrats, and this has led to corruption. So these licenses issued to the traders are also issued with basically bribes and all. Okay, so that is how APMC mandis and issues were there. Okay, if Modi ji's farm laws would have come into existence, this mandis, the whole logic is to remove of mandis also slowly. So you'd be provided an alternate option where you can sell through private market yards. Okay, that was implemented even in the APMC Model Act. So government came up with APMC Model Act by the time of 2002. APMC Model Act by the time of 2002. This is implemented by the central government, APMC Model Act. So according to APMC Model Act, the farmer can sell the produce directly to the end consumer using the private market yards or outside the APMC mandi system, government mandi system. Okay, so that is basically APMC Model Act. But since all the states, unless and until they implement, okay, you cannot implement, channelize APMC Model Act. Model Act is prepared by the central government. So it will be implemented at the state level only if the state governments pass in their acts. So hardly 17 to 18 states only implemented APMC Model Act, which talks about taking care of the farmer. Okay, directly the farmer can sell the produce to the end consumer. Okay, so they came up with something like appropriate price discovery. For example, when computerization in mandis, etc. So, for example, Shuffle exchanges were set up in Bangalore, okay, and in Delhi also. Shuffle exchange means the prices will be displayed in the Shuffle exchange. Okay, so most of the traders were not happy. They were saying we don't want transparency, don't put Shuffle exchanges, all that. Okay, so why? Because you cannot exploit the farmer because the appropriate price discovery. Okay, so like this, a lot of issues. The concept of e-NAM, electronic auction. Okay, so national agricultural market you want to create, the single market. Okay, so using electronic platform. So where somebody in Maharashtra can procure from even Karnataka. Okay, so you need not depend on the mandis. So this e-NAM concept was brought in, which helps in appropriate price discovery, etc. All that. Okay, so now this is about APMC. APMC. So India's case, if you observe, they came up with APMC, etc. Exploited farmer was exploited then. Okay, then what happened in 1960s? Continuously, early 60s, there was drought, starvation, deaths, etc. So to handle that in 1965, see, nothing was done for agriculture till 1965. Agriculture remained a subsistence sector till 1965. Whatever was done as far as agriculture or food processing industry is there, it is done between 1965 plus only. So till 1965, though your first 5-year plan says we will focus on agriculture, nothing was done as far as agriculture is concerned till 1965. Agriculture remained as a subsistence sector till the first green revolution. So 1965, then there was institutionalization of PDS. Okay, you came up with FCI. FCI has to maintain buffer stock to handle drought. Buffer stock means you should agriculture production should increase, etc. Earlier, we were importing food grains after independence through PL 480 from US, Public Law 480. It's a scheme through which we were procuring food grains from US. Okay, at lesser price. US will not give just like that. No, there will be some hidden interest. And this procurement was allowed also by accepting rupees. You need not give dollars. Okay, so PL 480. But you cannot depend on other countries for your what you call handling starvation. So by the time of 1960s, US was also facing problems, etc. Then you had Vietnam War, all that. So US was ready to remove all these schemes, which is increasing their budget. Okay, so therefore, we were clear that US is going to push off PL 480. So we had to implement something like we have to increase our agriculture production to increase the buffer stock. And that is when you came up with the first green revolution, Norman Borlaug or MS Swaminathan in India. Okay, so they implemented something like the first green revolution. It's Norman Borlaug basically. Okay, so here so green revolution. Okay, the main focus was these: mechanization, high yield variety, irrigation, and using of chemical fertilizers. And it also focused on agricultural credit. Why? Because high yield variety seeds will not come now. Okay, just like that, the farmer has to procure. Okay, so agricultural credit also. Okay, so this Norman Borlaug also got Nobel Prize and all. Then we call MS Swaminathan as father of first green revolution in India. Indian father. Okay, so this is the focus of first green revolution basically. Okay, then this production doubled, food security focus. Okay, employment generation, high yield, poverty elevation, reduce poverty. See, first green revolution benefits are also there. So anything is there, benefits will be there, some negatives will also be there. Okay, the benefits were there because we were able to increase agricultural yield. Okay, so India till 1975 was a food importer. Okay, so for the first time we become a food exporter in 1975. This was because of increase in buffer stock. So India for the first time in meager amounts became a food exporter by the time of 1975. This was mainly because of the benefit of first green revolution. Okay, so this is about first green revolution. So wheat and rice region, basically UP here you can see. Okay, so this is about the first green rice region, etc. Okay, but mainly Punjab, Haryana benefited. Okay, so because of first green revolution. Then you're talking about okay, 1965. Okay, so there Okay. Okay. So, so nothing much was done by the government till 1965. That is something which you should understand. Okay. So, whatever policies which you came up with mainly was 1961 to 1990, then 1991 plus. Okay. So, whether it is food processing sector, including food processing sector as part of priority sector lending targets, all that was done after 1991. Okay. So, is that clear? Okay. Then you came up with the concept of minimum support price. Then CP came up in 1985, which was recommending MSPs for 23 odd crops. Okay, so then we came up with something like extending. See, till 1980s, the ration shops or PDS remained in urban areas only. It was not extended to rural areas. The concept of public distribution system, ration shop, till 1980s. Only in 80s, though you realize the need for extending ration shops to rural areas, it was not extended to rural areas till 1980s. Then in 1992, we came up with RPDS, revamped public distribution system. Okay, so this was mainly focusing on tribal areas, northeastern areas, tribal, northeast, all that. Okay, so RPDS, revamped public distribution system. Okay, then 1997 we came up with TPDS or targeted public distribution system, where they started identifying APL families separately, BPL families separately. And for BPL families, you were trying to provide food grains at half the economic cost. Okay, so all that, TPDS. Okay. See, after 1991, MS Swaminathan was saying liberalization did not bring any benefit for us, agriculture, etc. Okay, so always this conflict was always there. Farmers were suffering. You opened up markets for agriculture, but agriculture, nothing much. Agriculture is still regulated by your APMC acts, which was not doing well. Okay, so government decided, several state governments, especially Andhra Pradesh also, 1997 plus, they implemented you have these programs. Intamadi direct selling to farmers. Direct farmers can directly sell to the end customer. Inta program ikkada mana Andhra Pradesh lo earlier. So what was that? So not just Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so it was also there. They came up Kerala, Gujarat, some states. So based on that model only, central government came up with model APMC. Model APMC. That means you are going to bring changes with respect to the earlier APMC Act. Is that okay? Okay, so I'll recall maybe some. 1999, 2000. Okay, this is what they did till 2000, but still BPL families, there were problems. So government 2002-3, they came up with something like Antyodaya Anna Yojana programs. They started identifying poor people who are poorer than BPL family. Okay, so that is program basically targeting people who are still poorer. Okay, then your PDS was becoming burdensome because FCI issues were there, godowns were there. Okay, so godowns were not appropriate, storage facilities were a problem, etc. All that. Okay, so 2008 government came up with private entrepreneur guarantee scheme. Okay, so this is again discussed in the economic survey. So the private entrepreneur guarantee scheme, where you try to bring in public-private partnership to build godowns, infrastructure, godowns, infrastructure, all that. Why? Because warehousing facility godowns are important if you want to increase the efficiency of storage. Okay, so 2008, 2009-10 plus government came up with the nutrient-based subsidy program. Okay, so here in the economic survey, okay, so he talks about neon urea. Okay, earlier they were talking about neem coated urea, so that slowly urea enters into the market. Okay, so basically, so nutrient based on the nutrient, the subsidy will be given now. Okay, so basically, the NPK ratio of fertilizer should be 4:2:1. This is called as the ideal ratio. So nitrogenous content means basically urea is basically nitrogenous. So more absorption of urea, etc. Farmers are using more urea. Okay, so now government came up with this concept of neem coated urea, etc. And moreover, in this NBS was a failure earlier because urea was not included in the NBS program. Urea subsidy was given separately, nutrient based subsidy. Okay, so urea they did not include. So separately subsidy for urea was there, and therefore this ideal ratio was not maintained. Okay, so now they are talking about neon urea. Neon urea is basically almost like a bottle will be there, bottle liquid urea, which will be almost equal to one full bag of urea. Okay, so the usage they want to reduce basically. Okay, so like this. Now then after 11-12 also there are other schemes also implemented. Now by the time of 2015 they understood that, oh, we need to take care of somebody like farmer. Okay, so you appointed several committees, especially with respect to doubling farmers' income. Okay, FCI reforms. What is the committee? Shanta Kumar committee. Shanta Kumar committee focused on reforming FCI. That is PDS basically. Okay, so then you started focusing on doubling farmers' income. Okay, so in 2018 again Ashok Dalwai committee was appointed. We'll talk about it. Ashok Dalwai committee may primary focus doubling farmers' income by 2022-23. Okay, if you want to double farmers' income, first of all, okay, so you have to double agricultural exports. So government came up with a new agriculture export policy in 2018. Government came up with new agriculture export policy, in 2018. So which basically talks about doubling agricultural exports. Okay, from $30 billion to 60 by 2022-23. Then over a period you will make it 100 billion. So agriculture export policy was brought in. Unless and until agriculture exports are doubled, you cannot double farmers' income, etc. So this is how, that is the reason a new agriculture export policy was also brought in 2018. Okay, during COVID, you know that agriculture was the silver lining, that sector which really performed well. When other sectors were not doing well, industry went negative, services not doing well. That time agriculture was growing at around 3.6%. Okay, and agriculture contribution to GDP, or it was almost like 20%. Okay, during the COVID period. Not contract farming. Raitu Bazaar concepts. Okay, so this was already brought long back, no, 98, 99. Okay, farmer can directly go and sell to the end consumer. Okay, so based on that logic, 2019-20. Okay, so contract farming is different. You do not have, government want to bring a separate contract farming act also. All that is discussed here. You will read in mains. Okay, so in detail you will not ask in prelims, but you should know. అసలు ఏం తెలియదు అగ్రికల్చర్ అని వెళ్ళిపోవద్దు ఎగ్జామ్కి కొన్ని. ఓకే, సో దిస్ ఇస్ సమ్ సెకండ్ గ్రీన్ రెవల్యూషన్. సో ఇట్ ఆర్గానిక్ ఫార్మింగ్, okay, focusing on basically sustainable agriculture. Okay, so mainly focusing on advancements in technology, etc. Okay. White revolution. Okay, there is this situation assessment survey, okay, which is done. So here basically if you see, this is receipts. Composition of average monthly income of agricultural households. Okay, so here if you see, non-farm business, net farming of animals. Okay, so these two if you observe, income, this is income, no, receipt is income, something like. Okay, so this was done, the survey was done in 2014. Okay, net receipt from cultivation 48%. Okay, now here if you observe, net receipt from non-farm business. Okay, net receipt from farming of animals, here it was 12%, here if you see 16%. Slowly this is reducing. Okay, so here you can see 48, here it is 37. Are you able to get this? Okay, and you will find that allied activity. Okay, so allied income is increasing because of allied activity. especially farming of animals. I think people are eating more chicken, etc. I don't know. Okay, so maybe livestock. Livestock egg production. If you see, you will be astonished. Okay, so that's not original meat. Nobody can produce. Okay, so much of meat. How can somebody produce? Okay, so I'll show you some statistics here. So this is, but of course, it's providing livelihood to many. You take from the livelihood concept. Okay, so here if you see, one of the reason can be distribution of, here if you see, okay, so distribution of households by size, category of ownership. So this is land holding. Now land holdings, if you see, small and marginal land holdings have increased. Small and marginal land holdings have increased. Here you can see 86 here. Okay, so 2002-3 it was 80. Small increase. So more small land holdings means more of livestock. Are you able to get my point? Okay, so more smaller land holdings. Okay, more chunk of smaller land holdings. If you want to generate income, revenue, okay, you will depend on obviously livestock, okay, dairying, all that. So that also you can observe there. So agricultural yield, so you can't increase no with small land holdings. So that is one. So more fragmentation of land holdings, more you will see livestock output, receipts from livestock, more receipts from livestock, or more receipts other than cultivation. Is that okay? Observe. Okay, so that's one reason. Okay, so that is observation. You will understand. Okay, then natural farming. Okay, natural farming. You know what is natural farming. Okay, so slowly you will remove elimination of chemical fertilizers. Okay, so natural farming to sustain agriculture production with eco-friendly process, and soil organic matter is restored by natural farming. So it is being promoted through a dedicated scheme. Okay, so Bharatiya Prakriti Krishi Paddhati Program, BPKP. The scheme promotes on-farm biomass recycling with major stress on biomass mulching, use on-farm cow dung urine formulations, etc. This is basically scheme related to natural farming. Okay. Now, if you see area covered under natural farming, okay. So you will find here, okay, AP and MP. Okay. So contribution of livestock in total agriculture has increased or decreased in the last 5 years? Increased, obviously. Contribution. Okay, so livestock increased. Okay, and livestock is contributing total 4.35 of the total GV, of course. Okay, so but almost like 29% of the total agriculture, okay, output GVA, it's coming from livestock. It increased, and one of the reason is small land holding also, and of course government programs also, doubling farmers income, we should focus all that. Okay, so animal husbandry, dairying, etc. Okay, so now here dairy, talking about dairy. Okay, so milk, you see, milk, per capita availability of milk, okay, meat and eggs. So this milk, per capita availability of milk. Okay, so here India is ranked 1 in milk production. So it almost contributes to 23% of global milk production. Adi manchi milk అని అడగద్దు అంతే. But milk production, that you only observe the statistics, numbers. Ante. Okay, so you can observe that. This is the data from animal husbandry, dairying, etc. Dairy. Organic is a kind of natural farming only, but if you see this, this is called zero natural farming. If you see natural farming, something like this is zero budget farming. Okay, zero budget farming. So this is basically natural farming without chemicals, without using any credit, without spending any money on purchased inputs. Okay, so this is the objective basically. So that is the reason you use zero budget natural farming. So this is the efforts of Subhash Palekar. Okay, he's from Karnataka. Okay, now here if you see neoliberalization of economy, privatization, seed inputs, etc. Markets, high cost, interest rates, volatile prices, farmers get trapped in the vicious cycle of debt because you need to buy fertilizers, this, you take loan, all that. So that is the reason that we're talking about zero budget farming, and that to zero budget farming in natural farming without chemicals, without using any credit. That is what is zero budget here. Okay, and without spending any money on purchased input. Okay, so natural farming is do nothing farming. Do nothing. No till, no chemical use farming. Okay, so it is use of locally available materials, seeds treated with cow dung and urine, soil with cow dung. So zero budget refers to zero net cost of production of all crops. Okay, so this is about, of course, this is in the not in the economic survey, but this is in the. Okay, so is this clear? Okay, and from the economic survey, we will find, okay, this is the some states, okay, area covered under this Bharatiya Prakriti Krishi Paddhati program. Okay, so this is about trend in milk production. Trend continuously increasing since last 7-8 years. Yes, continuous increase. All India per capita availability, this 427 grams. Okay, that is okay. So now when it comes to milk, okay, so milk, if you know something like white revolution would have read. Okay, so this is white revolution placed the dairy industry first in the world with highest milk production. So this revolution of Varghese Kurain is also called as the milkman of India, implemented in 3 phases. Okay, so then Operation Flood, this was the boost for white revolution. So 1970, which was initiated by the National Dairy Development Board to speed up white revolution. Okay, so here if you see Operation Flood program that was initiated by the National Dairy Development Board to speed up white revolution. So mainly why? One is increase milk output, fair prices for consumer, alternative incomes for the farmers, increasing rural incomes, all that, and trying to remove poverty. And here you observe UP maximum, key milk producers of India. Okay, na? Ma? Idi konni, I don't think he will ask, but if he goes mad, he may ask. Okay, so India ranks 3rd in egg production, 8 in meat production. అన్నిట్లో ఫస్ట్ అంటే మనం మార్క్ చేస్తాం కదా, ఫస్ట్ సెకండ్ ఉండొచ్చు అని, అందుకని. ఓకే, సో దట్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు రిమెంబర్. National Animal Disease Control Program, largest ever vaccination program. Okay, so being implemented aim to control, eradicate foot and mouth disease by 2030. Okay. Now, as part of Atmanirbhar Bharat stimulus package, okay, Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund worth 15,000 crore was launched in 2020. Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund. Okay. Okay. Now, APMC understood. Okay. So, many fees, that is, lot of fees is collected, post harvest losses because you do not have proper cold storage facilities, fragmented markets. Okay. So, it's not just 2,500, you have more now, 6,000 plus APMCs. Okay. And or contract farming. What happens in contract farming? In India, that contract farming also you do not have a uniform law. So, they wanted to bring a uniform law with respect to contract farming. Okay. So, middlemen, you do not have proper grading facilities to check whether the quality, especially the grain, etc. Even perishables going through APMCs was the biggest problem. Okay. Storage, cold chain facilities, infrastructure, etc. All that was a problem. Okay. So, that is the reason. One is APMC Model Act. APMC Model Act. Okay. So, where the farmer can sell the produce directly to the end consumer. Okay. Then you have ENAM, National Agricultural Market. Okay. So, it's a pan-India electronic trading platform. Pan-India electronic trading platform. Okay. So, I will come to this ENAM. Before that, okay, agricultural marketing or APMC. So, network of almost like 7,000 regulated wholesale markets. So, under the provision of respective state agricultural produce marketing committee, APMC acts. Okay. APMCs have been recognized as one of the eligible entities under the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. So, this is basically APMCs are eligible for Agriculture Infrastructure Fund to strengthen the mandi. There is something like APMC mandi cess also. Cess is tax on tax for a specific purpose and all. It is collected to increase the infrastructure in the mandis. Okay, all loans under AIF have interest subvention. So, this Agriculture Infrastructure Fund benefit interest subvention of 3% per annum to a limit of up to 2 crores. That means, if the loan is up to 2 crores, if the suppose interest charge was 6%, government is giving you a subvention of 3%. That means, government will pay 3% interest from your pocket. So, you will be paying only 3%. That is called as interest subvention. Interest subvention is something like interest subsidy. Okay, so government is giving interest subvention as part of Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. Okay, so that is also given to APMCs like this. So, government was trying to promote markets in order to help farmers in trading, okay, to bring remunerative prices and all, but that didn't work out. So, government also came up with mechanisms like ENAM. ENAM, that is what I was talking about, scheme in 2016. So, this is basically helps in competitive bidding. You need not go to the local mandi and only sell. Okay, your bargaining capacity will increase. The farmer can sell it to somebody else in the e-market. Are you able to get this? So, government providing free software and also assistance of 75 lakh per APMC mandi for hardware, including quality assessing equipment, creation of infrastructure like cleaning, grading facilities and so on. Okay. So, almost like 1st December 2021, 1,000 mandis of 18 states, okay, and 3 union territories have been integrated in this platform. Almost 1,000 mandis have been integrated in ENAM. Okay. So, you can sell it to somebody. You need not go to the mandi which is just beside your place. Is this clear? Okay. So, that is what government has done. Okay. So, here government has launched, this basically have a central sector scheme of formation and promotion of 10,000 farmer producer organizations. Okay, so this also was done. So this is some objective which it has kept. Okay, so you are trying to focus on specialization, also one district, one product, etc. Okay, so and government has started a full-fledged ministry on cooperation in July 2021. So this is basically focuses on cooperative sectors. Separate ministry on cooperation. Okay, July 2020, which will focus on the cooperative sectors. Okay, so I think agriculture is one of the important chapter in the economic survey. Agriculture and the first chapter. Okay, there, if at all he wants to ask some facts, some trends, okay, he should be asking from survey. Mains, it is very helpful. Okay, so till here I think it is okay. Now, so situation assembly, land holdings. Okay, this we have done. Milk. Okay. Till here, if it is clear. Now, one is agriculture export policy. So, ENAM. So, what are the benefits? One is transparent price discovery. So, the farmer will get the best price possible. Okay. Post harvest losses will be less for the farmer. Okay. So, post harvest losses, reduction. That is one more benefit for the farmer, that you will remember. It increases farmers' income, obviously. Okay. And transparent price discovery is there. Single point levy, multiple levels in the mandi, you have to pay fees, all that is. So, you may ask the benefits. If he is asking, you should be in a position to identify the benefits in the exam. Easy to identify cheyachu, positive untayi anni. Okay, some negatives are there, some challenges are there. Okay, so second question, what should be the answer? Recent question only, easy question. ఇట్లాంటివి అడుగుతారు, దీనికేం స్ట్రెస్ ఉండదు మనకి. ఓకే, ఎగ్జామ్లో కాకపోతే అందరు మార్క్ చేస్తారు మ్యాక్సిమం. ఓకే, సో కమ్ టు ద క్వశ్చన్స్. ఓకే, చూద్దాం. Agriculture export policy. Okay. So here agriculture export policy, which year I told 2018. Okay, if you have to double farmers' income, you have to mainly focus on doubling agricultural exports. Okay, doubling agricultural exports from 30 billion to 60 by 2022 and slowly reach $100 billion in the next few years. ఇది ఏంటంటే ఎఫెక్ట్ కోసం అంతా అగ్రికల్చర్ వేసినాం వెనకాల, ఇది స్లైడ్లో సరిగ్గా కనిపించట్లేదు. ఓకే, సో సో యూ వర్క్ ఫర్ that effect, but okay. So now here few things which he talks. One is diversification. Okay, diversification. So diversifying the export basket. Okay, so one. Then non-traditional agricultural product promotion, that is indigenous, organic, traditional agri product exports focus. Then market access. Okay, so there will be a lot of sanitary, phytosanitary measures. Farmers will not understand. Okay, so if you want to really export your produce to other countries, you need to have institutional mechanism which will take care of all this. Okay, handling the tariff, non-tariff barriers, sanitary, phytosanitary issues, all that. So global integration, double India's share in the world agriculture exports by integrating with the global value chain at the raw material. You have to in a position to supply to anywhere. Benefits farmers. Okay, so That is what is the main agenda. These are the objectives. Just you will remember overview 30 to 60, 60 to 100, crop diversification of export basket, market access. Okay, so market access means you are handling sanitary, phytosanitary. Then global integration, your supply chain should be integrated with the global change, global value change. Then benefiting farmers, all that. These are the objectives. Broadly, you know what are the objectives. But all he is asking, what is the focus of agriculture export policy? Okay, then he talks about several mechanisms. This side, I don't think they'll ask. So they was focused on strategic and operational. Two things they focused. Okay, so policy, infrastructure, logistics. Okay, greater involvement of state government in exports. ఇవన్నీ పాజిటివ్. మీరు చూడగానే అర్థమవుతుంది, ఓ ఇది ఉండొచ్చు అనిపిస్తుంది. మీరు చదవక్కర్లేదు, ఒకసారి చూసుకుంటే సరిపోతుంది. ఓకే, క్లస్టర్ బేస్డ్ అప్రోచ్, వాల్యూ యాడెడ్ ప్రోడక్ట్స్, మార్కెటింగ్ అండ్ ప్రమోషన్ ఆఫ్ బ్రాండ్ ఇండియా, strong quality regimen, research and development, all that. So all these are positive aspects. Definitely for exports ఇవన్నీ ఉండాలా లేదా చూసుకో. అవి బట్టి కొడితే అవ్వదమ్మా, మన బ్రెయిన్ హీట్ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, బట్ అండర్స్టాండ్ మెయిన్స్కి కావాలి, ఆ తర్వాత చదవచ్చులే. ఓకే, సో టిల్ హియర్ ఐ థింక్ ఇట్ ఈస్ క్లియర్. ఈయన heard of them? Grams, Gramin Agricultural Markets. Okay. Actually, positives are there, negatives are there. For example, farm laws. Okay, but if you ask any farming family, they'll say we want MSP. Most of them. Okay, so but statistics show only 6% of the farmers benefited out of the whole because of, as far as MSP is concerned. Okay, but multiple things. I think that they will not ask any contradictory things. They will not ask. Under the scheme, 4,600 existing 22,000 hearts will be developed and upgraded using MGNREG and other government initiatives. So just go through what is this program in the slide later. Okay, so ఇది మెయిన్స్కి వస్తుంది టెక్నాలజీ. ఓకే, సో దిస్ సర్వే, సో దిస్ ఇస్ ద సర్వే. నౌ ఫిషరీ, ఇండియా ఇస్ ద సెకండ్ లార్జెస్ట్ ఫిష్ ప్రొడ్యూసింగ్ కంట్రీ. ఓకే, ఈ ఫిషరీ సబ్సిడీస్ గురించి బ్యూనెస్ ఏరీస్లో కూడా తగ్గిద్దామని డిస్కస్ చేశారు. అఫ్ కోర్స్ రిమెంబర్ బ్యూనెస్ ఏరీస్, WTO, బట్ ఇట్ ఎండెడ్ అప్ వితౌట్ సైనింగ్ అ మినిస్టీరియల్ డిక్లరేషన్. దట్స్ అ డిఫరెంట్ థింగ్. ఓకే, it contributes to around 7% of agricultural gross value addition, total contribution. Okay, in 2018-19, the government extended the facility of Kisan credit card also to the fisheries in addition to animal husbandry farmers to help them meet their working capital needs. KCC, Kisan credit card, extended to fisheries. Okay, so that is so. And government also launched a new flagship scheme, okay, called Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Okay, so flagship program in May 2020 as part of A&B package. Atmanirbhar Bharat. I'll come to Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada later. I'll show. Now, this is about agriculture research. నాకేమీ ప్రిలిమ్స్కి అంతేం కనిపించలేదు. సో సమ్ ఫ్యాక్ట్స్ హియర్. రోల్ ఆఫ్ R&D in agriculture, research and development in agriculture, you see here. Now here, world's food systems contribute to about 1/5 of global greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, so agriculture is a key to meeting half of the 17 sustainable development goals, SDG. అవసరం లేదు, ఇప్పుడు తర్వాత చూపిస్తాను. నేను మొన్న చూపించాను కదమ్మా SDG. ఓకే, హాఫ్ ఆఫ్ See why? Because if you want to eliminate poverty, hunger, reducing inequality, all that will happen provided you are good in agriculture. Okay, so that is what. So for every rupee spent on agriculture research and development yields much better returns. So in comparison to money spent on maybe fertilizer subsidy, power subsidy, education or roads, you will find that for every rupee spent on agriculture research and development yields much better returns. So spending that means 11.2% return. Okay, that is what. Of course, this is mostly important for mains, but this is something which this is a fact which I found. Okay, just you will go through this fact. Okay, so contributes to about 1/5 of the global greenhouse gas emissions. So R&D avasram. Why? For sustainable agriculture cannot happen without technology and research and development. Okay, so that is the reason. Okay, clear? Food processing. Okay, so దీనికి వచ్చే ముందు land reforms, of course, for mains it is more important, but basic you should know. Okay, so what is the objective of land reforms, etc. Okay, who is a tenant? ఇలాంటివి అయితే తెలియాలి. Okay, so I discussed this already. MSP A2 plus FL into 1.5. This is announced by budget 2018-19. Okay, so A2 is actual cost, imputed cost of family labor. Okay, that is FL. But farmers were asking what cost? Comprehensive cost. Farmers were not happy with actual cost, but government was not interested in this. It will increase MSP పెరిగిపోతుంది, చాలా సబ్సిడీ పెరిగిపోతుంది government if you go ahead with comprehensive cost. Okay. Organic farming avoids or largely excludes the use of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, growth regulators and livestock feed additives. That is what is organic farming today. Okay, so integration of farm enterprises such as cropping system, animal husbandry, fisheries, forestry for optimal utilization of resources bringing prosperity to farmer. That is called as integrated farming system. Repoduna definition adgite. Okay, so like he asked mixed farming. Okay, so integrated farming system. Is that okay? Just go through once. Okay, so cropping pattern, animal husbandry, fisheries, forestry for optimum utilization of resources. Okay, this is okay. This you can identify in the exam. Okay, so reasons for agricultural distress. Pratidi reason hai. Ante kada. Maximum identify cheyachu idi. Low productivity, irrigation, monsoon. Okay, so exploitation by intermediaries, lack of infrastructure, lack of integrated market system for produce, fragmentation of land holding, inka chala cheppachu. Okay, so food processing, again in mains you will read that food processing, FCI, problems, etc. all that. But here at least you will remember few things. Last 5 years ending 2019-20, food processing sector was growing at an average annual growth of 11.8. Okay, so food processing sector is booming. Okay, it constitutes almost like 9% of PVA in manufacturing. So sunrise sector, because employment intensive. Okay, so here share of FPI in manufacturing No trend, but just an observation. Food processing industry. 100% FDI is permitted into food processing sector. You will ask such statements. Okay. And after 1992-93, I think, where food processing industry was included in the priority sector lending targets. Okay. Check the year once, no? Year when food processing was included in the priority sector. After 91 only, that I, but 93 priority sector lending ante banks ee sectors ki loans takku interest istayi. These are like agriculture, MSME, all that. Okay, so not at the regular interest. That is basically priority sector lending. So government, so after 91, government included food processing industry as part of priority sector lending. Okay, so to promote the processing industry. But exactly which year it was included as part of priority sector lending? Targets of the bank. Banks have to reach this target of 40%. Okay, so మీ food processing sectors ki loan iste kuda adi included. And 100% FDI is allowed into processing industry. దొరకకపోతే వదిలేయండి. It's 91 plus 93. Okay, 99. Food processing industry included in the priority sector lending. Okay. So 100% FDI is permitted under automatic route. Okay. However, in case of e-commerce, that is food product traded in the electronic platform, okay, 100% FDI is allowed here also, but government approval route. So FDI comes through automatic and non-automatic. So non-automatic means you have to have some approvals given. Okay, earlier there was a board under finance ministry which is not there now, called as FIPB, Foreign Investment Promotion Board. This board used to approve non-automatic route, FIPB. ఈ board లేదు ఇప్పుడు. So you have Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs mainly. So non-automatic ante permissions istene రావాలి. Permission istene. Case by case approval will be given. So that is called non-automatic route. So regular FDI into food processing, automatic. But FDI into e-commerce. E-commerce ante food product trading. Okay, e-commerce trading. So that will be 100% is allowed, but government approval route. This is okay. Now, how FDI inflow into the processing sector? That is one more observation here. So FDI inflow into food processing sector, you observe here. Okay, so no continuous increase nor continuous decrease. Here you can see 2021, etc. FDI moving into food processing gone down. Is that okay? Trend ledu processing. So you don't have continuously falling nor continuously increasing. So he's saying continuously increasing, that's wrong. He's saying continuously falling, also that's wrong. See here, trend is not there. Continuous falling trend also, it's not there. Okay. Okay. Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana. Okay, it focuses on multiple programs. Okay, so here Okay. Okay, so there are certain schemes. One is Pradhan Mantri Kisan. I had a diagram actually. So it is an integrated approach. Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, integrated approach. So various component schemes with mega food parks. Heard of them? Okay, in the food process, mega food parks. Okay, integrated cold chain and value addition, infrastructure for agro processing clusters, creation of backward and forward linkage, expansion of food processing and preservation, operation greens, food testing laboratories. It's a culmination of all. Okay. So this is Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana. Anni. Okay. Okay, so there is this certain schemes which you have to check. Okay, so one is I'll show you. These are all for mains. Okay, so mega food parks, all that. Okay, so you should know. Upstream, downstream integration. Okay, so supply chain, backward and forward integrations basically. Okay, so operation greens, it's all. Okay. Farm bills. Okay, so some scheme we'll see later. Okay, in addition, see open market sales scheme here in the economic survey. So in addition to maintaining buffer stock and for making a provision for meeting requirement of TPDS and other welfare schemes, FCI on the instruction from the government sells excess stock out of the central pool, okay, through the open market sales scheme. In the open market from time to time at a predetermined prices called reserve prices. Okay, are you able to get this? Okay, so FCI go downs lo TPDS kosam maintain chestadi kada. Okay, so FCI, okay, on government asks FCI to sell this excess stock out of the central pool through open market sales scheme. That is what is open market sales scheme. That is what you will remember. Okay, in the open market from time to time at a predetermined price called the reserve prices. Okay, so we have kept some targets with respect to this, how much you have to sell, etc. Okay, now here a special dispensation for supply of food grains to all the charitable or non-governmental organization engaged in relief of running community kitchens or migrant labor workers, etc. All that has been introduced since 8th April. This is because of COVID. Okay. So wheat at a uniform rate of 21 per and rice per kilogram are issued to the charitable institutions NGO. So this special dispensation was initially till to June 2020, which was extended for the rest of the year at the same rate, terms and conditions. So that means they are supplying, FCI supplying food grains to all the charitable or non-governmental organizations also. That is what is the special dispensation. So this was mainly done for the sake of handling COVID. That is the reason it was extended also. Okay, so is this clear? Okay, that is what there in the economic survey. Okay, so central issue price and difference between the central issue price and the economic cost of FCI is nothing but what? Food subsidy. Okay, that is what is food subsidy. So measures are being taken by the government to improve efficiency and reduce the gap between economic cost and the central issue price. That is what we discussed now, basic. Okay, now food subsidy in 1000 crores here. Okay, here you can observe. Now you observe a jump with respect to food subsidy 2020-21. This is because of COVID. So you can't expect a trend here, obviously. Okay, so here he talks about storage, and as part of storage, you have this 2008 private entrepreneur guarantee scheme in which construction of godowns are undertaken by PPP mode. Government is trying to promote this now. Okay, so PEG scheme. Okay, so this is basically about storage, PEG and steel silos in the country. PPP, public-private partnership. Mainly for mains, but at least you should know PEG scheme is related to building godowns, FCI. Okay, so that is 2008. Okay, so you're using PPP mode, public-private partnership. That much you will remember. Okay, so that much you will remember for prelims. Fertilizer. Okay. Nano urea. Okay, fine, fine. I think this is conclusion. This is mainly for mains. Okay, so till your economic survey, is it clear? There's some schemes like PN Kisan Samman Nidhi, etc. All that is there. Okay, so 2022 doubling farmers' income. Ashok Dalwai. Okay, so mainly it focuses on a 7-point strategy. So which was aiming to double farmers' income by 2022. So these are 7-point strategy. Okay, raising crop production, reducing cultivation cost. Okay, APMC reforms. Okay, and food processing, risk mitigation, crop insurance reserve, promotion of allied activities. This is what we were talking about, no? Allied activity that increased, and emphasis on irrigation. If at all a factual question comes up, okay, so is the focus of the Ashok Dalwai committee or a 7-point strategy. So these are the 7 points which you have to remember. Okay, so you just go through. You will identify easily. There should not be any trouble only. Huh? 7 point. So 2018, with a doubling farmers' income by 2022. సో ఫుడ్ ప్రాసెసింగ్ చదివేటప్పుడు మెయిన్స్లో యూ వుడ్ హ్యావ్ రెడ్ ప్రైమరీ ప్రాసెసింగ్, సెకండరీ అండ్ టెర్షరీ ప్రాసెసింగ్. ఓకే, సో ప్రైమరీ ప్రాసెసింగ్ అంటే ఏం చేస్తారమ్మా ప్రైమరీ ప్రాసెసింగ్లో? బేసికలీ ఫోకసింగ్ ఆన్ ఇంక్రీజింగ్ ద షెల్ఫ్ లైఫ్. ఓకే, సో యూఆర్ టాకింగ్ అబౌట్ గ్రేడింగ్, cleaning, all that, sorting. So this is what is primary processing. Hardcore processing is done tertiary processing. He ketchups, even tertiary processing. Okay, so I don't think he'll ask. Significance are there. For mains, you'll read problems of food processing industry, measures taken by the government. So in the measures taken by government, he has asked actually in the mains. Okay, so food processing, what are the measures taken by government? Okay, so as part of that, you have mega food parks. Okay, then Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, all that. But for films, I don't think he will be asking all that. Okay. That's all. Okay, so go through these ones. And also, you will also, there is one more area which you will check. In the slides, it is there. Okay, so what you will do is, for example, these are industrial policy resolutions are there, industry law. అప్పుడుది కదా ఇప్పుడు ఏం అడుగుతారు అనుకోకుండా. ఓకే, సో ఒకసారి పైన చూసుకొని వెళ్ళాలి. ఇండస్ట్రీ ఇస్ అ చాప్టర్. ఓకే, సో యు గో త్రూ ఇట్ వన్స్. సో ఇండస్ట్రియల్ పాలసీ రెజల్యూషన్ 1948, announcement 1948. Okay, so decided the model of Indian economic system will be mixed economy. Okay, so basic, just go through once. Okay, so this is the highlight. Rest all of the industries that are not included in the central state were left open to the private sector. Policy is revised after 10 years. Okay, so then IPR 1956, Industrial Policy Resolution 1956. Okay, so in this policy only, Nehruji termed PSU as temples of modern India. And PSUs were accounting to more than 50% of country's GDP. PSUs accounted for 1988-89. That's what he was talking about. Provision of licensing. And this provision of licensing was remembered as License Raj. License quota in the economic history. Very strict. Earlier entry was the difficult, no, License Raj era. So now exit is difficult. Okay, so once you have entered PPP partnerships, etc. So provision of licensing, okay, so compulsory licensing for industries was cemented under this policy. So that is why License Raj. Okay, so there are certain highlights of 1956 IPR policy. More or less decided industrial expansion and structure of economy till 1990. This was the main policy, 1956 policy. Main, till 1990 this was the policy. Okay, so PSUs encouraged in backward and underdeveloped areas to tackle regional disparity, expansion of public sector, and especially focused on heavy industry model. Remember heavy industry, second 5-year plan. Okay, so that was given by this IPR policy in 1956. Now small scale industries emphasis was also on small industries as well as khadi and village industries. Agriculture sector was also pledged as a priority, but of course, they did not focus much. It was pegged as a priority. Okay, then you have the policy of 1991, National Industrial Policy 1991. So the backdrop is basically that was a period where Gulf War situation, decrease in remittances, inflation at 17%, fiscal deficit high, India's forex reserve went down. We went to financial crisis, that is BOP crisis, isn't it? Okay, so here in this background, India followed a gradual approach to liberalization. Okay, IMF laid certain conditions that was also seen as a reason for coming up with reforms. Okay, then we came up first generation reforms. First generation reforms are all those reforms which were brought in immediately after 1991. Then we came up with second generation reforms which came up after 1998. 1998, all the reforms which the government brought in was called as second generation. For example, second generation reforms, agriculture reforms, okay, so APMC related reforms, all that. Convertibility, capital account convertibility reforms, VAT reforms, 2005, VAT, value added tax, okay, all these. Okay, so first generation, immediately after the crisis, second generation after 99. Labor sector reforms also part of second generation reforms. Labor sector reforms after 1998. We failed in implementing. That is why again Modi ji is talking about labor laws, liberalizing labor laws, all that. Okay, so this was the background, and it focused mainly. Your National Industrial Policy 1991 was mainly focusing on de-reservation of industries. Okay, slowly list of industries reserved for Government of India were almost cut down to just 8. Okay, so that means earlier license Raj, government will be more of a facilitator. So government will not be, you are extending it. Now currently government is saying government has no business to stay in business. This is the budget statement, no, before last year I think, madam made this statement, no, Nirmala Sitharaman madam. Government has no business to stay in business means in near future, even no more PSUs also. That statement has a very deep meaning. It says profit making PSU also we don't want. In the last few months, last 6 months, the profit making PSUs like IOCL like employees also, most of the facilities were cut down by the government. IOCL jobs are very good. Okay, most of the facilities earlier wherever you go, hotels were given, all that slowly is pulling it off. Okay, so National Industrial Policy 1991, de-reservation, de-licensing, abolition of MRTP, Monopolies Restrictive Trade Practices Act, okay, was the entity which was handling competition in 1967-68. So it is called as MRTP. MRTP is Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices. So today competition is regulated by Competition Commission of India. So MRTP changed to MRTPC, Monopoly Restricted Trade Practices Commission, and then that was also abolished, and you came up with Competition Commission of India now. So Competition Commission of India is what that handles competition today. Any competition related issues and all, CCI will handle. Okay, so CCI also came into existence based on the fundamental recommendations of the National Industrial Policy 1991, which has abolished the erstwhile MRTP, Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices Act. Okay. FEMA. Okay, so investment FIs were also allowed. FI. Okay, so FDI and FI. Promotion of foreign investment was also stated in this policy. Okay, you have FDI. You know what is FDI, what is FI, difference and all. Okay, then FERA was there 1973-74. FERA is Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Very strict, very stringent. You want foreign exchange, you want money. So you replaced FERA with FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999-2000. FERA was replaced with FEMA 1999-2000. Okay, so all that. Okay, so any foreign exchange related crime was criminal offense under FERA. Foreign exchange related crime is a kind of a civil offense. FEMA is liberal. So today black money related aspects are handled by, one is FEMA, then another one is PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, which you'll read in internal security. Okay, PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, and FEMA. Okay, so this is about divestment, okay, or disinvestment. The word disinvestment, okay. So now presently you find that government policy initially after 1991, disinvestment was used by the government to raise revenue. Government FD was high. FD is high means you want. Today also same situation. Government wants money. COVID and all. Government does not have resources. Now government is talking about privatization. Hardcore privatization so that you get money. So in disinvestment also there is minority stake sale. Minority means you are only selling 5%, 10% minority stake. Then you have the strategic disinvestment. So strategic disinvestment where was not the criteria earlier. Okay, so strategic disinvestment means your PSU basically slowly over a period of time PSU stakeholding will be reduced. So you are generally going to sell more than 50% of the stake in a government entity. So that is what is strategic disinvestment, strategic. Okay, so earlier after 1991, we were not focusing on strategic disinvestment. We were only focusing on minority stake sale, selling 5%, 10%, double kosam basically. You wanted money. Okay, so strategic disinvestment is now, but if you see present budget and last year budget, you find more of strategic disinvestment and privatization. Government's focus is on strategic disinvestment and privatization even for profit making PSUs. Okay, so PSU undavu inka over a period. Okay, so current aims. So earlier government believed that PSU 1956 law, PSU driven growth, PSUs will be the front runners of my growth. Now we are believing private, no PSU. Clearly, government has no business to stay in business. Ante ade, that is there. Okay, so Deepam, Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, talked about it in the fiscal policy. Okay, so which is the under Ministry of which ministry? Finance. Okay, that's all. So you just go through once the definitions also, latest definitions of MSME. Latest, how MSME, how some changes have been done. Okay, so how do you define a micro, small and a medium enterprise? So latest definitions once. Okay, I have written something there. Okay. Okay, that's all. We'll stop here. Okay, so slides ఒకసారి చూసుకోండి పైన అగ్రికల్చర్ ఎస్పెషలీ. Okay, agriculture slides please go through. Okay, that's one thing, and something so we are also coming up with a similar kind of program for SNT, Science and Technology. Okay, which is starting from 17th of this month, which includes current affairs also. So those who are interested, or if somebody is interested, you can let them know. Those who are writing this year especially, they will be useful for them. Okay, that is one. Those who are not coming also for science and technology, one is what we have seen is NCRT. There are certain chapters in NCRT related to biology topics. Okay, and Lucent book, whether it Lucent is GK anta కలిపి ఉంటది. Okay, that was sufficient last year. And there are some current affairs you read. Okay, so here our teacher will provide material also, but if those who don't have time want to prepare from home, etc., so these are the references mainly. Okay, current affairs anyhow you should read Hindu and all. Okay, so or whichever magazine you are following, some areas. Lucent book for static, అన్ని కలిపి ఉంటుంది జీకే, అదొకటి ఉంటుంది, సపరేట్ది ఉంటుంది, ఏదైనా పర్లేదు. Okay, and biology related few areas, virus, bacteria, ivanni enti. This is from NCERT. So these are the areas which you will check. Science and technology. Science and tech. That should be sufficient. And there is this doctor's exam conducted by UPSC. ఏదో ఉందమ్మా ఏంటమ్మా ఎగ్జామ్ అది CMS. సో దేర్ డాక్టర్ రిలేటెడ్ ఎగ్జామ్లో కోర్ డాక్టర్ క్వశ్చన్లు చూస్తే మనకి ఎట్లాగో ఏం రాదు. ఓకే, సో అందులో జిఎస్ ఉంటుంది. ఆ జిఎస్లో ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ రిలేటెడ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉంటాయి, ఎస్ఎన్టీ రిలేటెడ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ ఇవన్నీ ఉంటాయి. సో అందులోంచి క్వశ్చన్స్ రిపీట్ అవుతూ ఉంటాయి. దిస్ మై అబ్జర్వేషన్ బేసికలీ. ఓకే, సో దట్ క్వశ్చన్ పేపర్స్ యుల్ చెక్. ఓకే, అండ్ వన్ మోర్ థింగ్ ఇస్ దిస్ CAPF టెస్ట్ లాస్ట్ 2-3 years. ఓకే, సో యుల్ చెక్ ద హౌ దే ఆర్ ఆస్కింగ్ క్వశ్చన్ ఆల్ సబ్జెక్ట్స్. CAPF తెలుసు కదమ్మా, అందులో కూడా మంచి పోస్టులు ఉంటాయి కొన్ని. CISF, ఓకే, వెరీ గుడ్ పోస్ట్. Okay, so that papers also last 3-4 years, check. You have to check very clearly. You have to solve those papers also. Previous UPSC 4-5 years history anni adi etla factual aindo 3 years back, alage last year history alage factual aindi. Okay, so last year modern history questions have come up from one TMH book. Okay, but of course now you can't read all that. So whatever you have read, you revise. Okay, but solve all the previous questions of CAPF, okay, CDS, UPSC conducted exam, especially environment related questions solved from this CMS. That's all. So I think any chapter you have missed out, class and all, you can coordinate. Purna will send you the video or something. Okay, so 2x speed you can revise. Okay, and economic survey, if you want to read also, especially first chapter you will read, BOP chapter you will check. So core, you see most of the questions have to come in prelims. Okay, one is national income. Okay, one monetary policy, then you have fiscal policy, these areas. Then there are external sector is there, no, BOP, external sector, which we discussed. Okay, that area, and agriculture, some areas of agriculture. Poverty, unemployment, once a while question comes. So that also, if it is there, we have discussed no poverty yesterday, unemployment, that you will go through. Okay, but these are the main areas. If you are thorough with concepts related to these areas, then maximum economy questions can be handled. You can put your energies into other subject. Okay, so these, and any revision videos you can check. Okay, that's okay. Is subsidy a transfer payment? వెళ్ళే ముందు ఒక క్వశ్చన్ అడిగేసి వెళ్ళిపోతాం. ఏం చేయాలి? సబ్సిడీని వెయ్యాలా, ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ పేమెంట్లో వేయద్దా? వెయ్యచ్చు కాదు, వెయ్యాలా వద్దా? ఆప్షన్స్ లేవు. Okay, so there's no option. If the examiner is including and you don't find any other option, then you include. Okay, but general, so if the direct question is coming like subsidy is part of transfer payment and a statement వచ్చింది అనుకుందాం, సపోజ్ అప్పుడు రైట్ అని పెట్టాలా, రాంగ్ అని పెట్టాలా? Whole Ramayana is over. Okay, so now I'm asking Rama, Sita, పెట్టచ్చా వద్దా? మొబైల్ యూజ్ చేసి చెప్పండి ఆన్సర్, తర్వాత కాన్సెప్ట్ చెప్దాం. ఎస్సా పెట్టేయాలా? ఓకే. ఈ సబ్సిడీ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ NNP at factor cost? ఈ సబ్సిడీ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ NNP at factor cost? ఓకే, కాదా? సరే, కాదమ్మా. ఓహో, అట్లా వచ్చారా మీరు? సరే, ఫ్యాక్టర్ కాస్ట్ రావాలంటే ఫార్ములా చెప్పండి. మార్కెట్ ప్రైస్ I am asking you this way. I am not asking you market price. I said factor cost is equal to ఇలా అయితే market price minus indirect taxes plus subsidy. అంటే సబ్సిడీస్ వాల్యూ అంటే ఇంక్లూడ్ అయినాయి ఆల్రెడీ. వెన్ ఐ సే NNP at factor cost ఆల్సో, అంటే సబ్సిడీ అనేది ఇంక్లూడ్ అయిపోతుంది ప్రోడక్ట్ ప్రొడక్షన్లో, వాల్యూ ఎడిషన్లో, ప్రోడక్ట్ ప్రొడ్యూసింగ్ దాంట్లో వెళ్ళిపోయింది కదా సబ్సిడీ. ఓకే, బట్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ పేమెంట్ ఈజ్ నాట్ పార్ట్. నో, ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ పేమెంట్ ఈజ్ సంథింగ్ లైక్ స్కాలర్షిప్, అలవెన్స్, ఎక్సెట్రా. దట్స్ నాట్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ యువర్ నేషనల్ ఇన్కమ్ క్యాలిక్యులేషన్. ఆన్ అ జనరల్ నోట్, సబ్సిడీ షుడ్ నాట్ బి ఇంక్లూడెడ్ బికాస్ సబ్సిడీ has already been part of the value addition. ప్రోడక్ట్ ప్రొడ్యూస్ అవ్వడానికి సబ్సిడీ యూజ్ అయింది కదా. సరే, ఇలా తీసుకుందాం. నేషనల్ ఇన్కమ్ క్యాలిక్యులేషన్లో ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ పేమెంట్స్ ఉండవు. కానీ నేషనల్ ఇన్కమ్ క్యాలిక్యులేషన్లో, అంటే ఇప్పుడు జీడిపి, వెన్ యూ టాక్ అబౌట్ ఫ్యాక్టర్ కాస్ట్, don't come to NNP or something, but in GDP and if you have to get NDP also, okay, there also subsidy factor cost kavali ante you're adding subsidy, no, transfer payments will not be part. Okay, so subsidy on a general note should not be part of your transfer payment. ఆన్ అ జనరల్ నోట్. ఎగ్జామ్లో వాడు ఏదో మార్చి గడబడి చేస్తే అది వేరే విషయం. అది ఒక ఆప్షనే ఉంటే అర్థమైందమ్మా. సబ్సిడీస్ ఇంక్లూడెడ్ నో ప్రోడక్ట్ ప్రొడక్షన్లో నీకు సబ్సిడీ ఇచ్చారు, నువ్వు ఆల్రెడీ యువర్ అ ప్రొడ్యూసర్, యువర్ ఇంక్లూడింగ్ ఇట్ ఇన్. ఆర్ ఏబుల్ టు గెట్ దిస్? ఓకే, సో యూ కాంట్ సీ సబ్సిడీ యాజ్ అ డైరెక్ట్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ పే. Is that clear? Okay. Now he may ask, after 2015, there's one doubt. Okay. NNP at factor cost, if we are GDP, we are calculating it at market price. So, government, now he may ask a question. Government is calculating national income at market prices. So, after 2015, yes, to some extent. National income calculation also we are doing at market price. Because GDP itself calculation we changed now from factor cost to market price. Okay, so one is base year change 2004, 5 to 11, 12. But all these years, we for national income calculation, we were using NNP only. NNP at what? Factor cost. Factor cost. Okay, so now what you did after 2015, main GDP calculation change. One is you shifting from factor cost to market price. ఇంతకు ముందు జీడిపిలు అన్ని ఫ్యాక్టర్ కాస్ట్లోనే క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేసేవాళ్ళం. నౌ యూ షిఫ్టెడ్ టు వాట్? మార్కెట్ ప్రైస్. Same with respect to NNP also. Now NNP at market price. You came up with basic prices, etc. So to confuse you, if he's asking, okay, so you have to check. So there is a shift. No, what are the reforms he came up with? One is MCA 21 data. Idi. Okay, talked about it. No, 11.45 to 11.12 base year change. Another one is factor cost to market price. All these are the changes which he brought in. No, CSO reforms 2015. Okay, so get the basics strong. Current affairs spend only 10% of the time as far as economy is concerned. Get the basics strong. Current affairs మొత్తం మ్యాగజైన్ బట్టి కొట్టద్దు. ఇప్పుడు ఇంతకుముందు ఆల్రెడీ కొంచెం చదువున్నారు కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్ అంటే అది ఓకే, కానీ ఎకనామిక్స్ కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్కి సపరేట్ మ్యాగజైన్స్ ఇప్పుడు పట్టుకొని ఏదో మాస్టర్ చేద్దామని ఏదేదో స్కీమ్లు చదివి అంత అవసరం లేదు. దట్ ఎనర్జీ యూ స్పెండ్ ఆన్ static or other current affairs. Okay, economics, how many will ask current? Okay, economic survey and budget, you know, I think that's more than sufficient. Okay, that's all. Stop here. Thank you.